Welcome to Kick Him in the Head, a podcast that takes an inside look at the world of mixed martial arts, featuring interviews from some of the top fighters from South Africa and around the world, with a focus on the EFC and UFC promotions. I'm your host, Yao. Join us as we delve deep into the techniques, strategies, and mindsets of these world-class athletes, learning from their experiences and getting insights into what it takes to succeed in the toughest sport on earth. Welcome to another jam-packed edition of the Kick Him in the Head podcast. Today, we are doing a prediction show for EFC 119. EFC 119 coming up on November the 14th, this coming Thursday, and I'm really excited about this card. And I'm going to say it because I say it all the time. This card is stacked. Once again, another absolutely stacked card from the EFC with some amazing fights. So we're supposed to have tonight with us Luke Michael, the current middleweight champion of the EFC, but unfortunately he couldn't join us. And hopefully we have Ola from the Fight Week show who will be joining us as we are on the show today. But with that said, let's get straight into all the action and all the fights coming up at EFC 119. Now, the title fight in the co-main for EFC 119, we have Balelo versus Machabani and Van Wyk versus Chuku. Julia Chuku back in the hex against Dana Van Wyk. Dana Van Wyk we've seen on an absolute tear in the EFC. She's been great, but let's talk about the title fight first. Let's have a look at Balelo versus Machabani. Terrence, the Black Panther Balelo, the current interim flyweight champion of the EFC fly and bantamweight champion of the EFC versus Edson Machabani, the upcoming grappling prospect in the EFC, challenging Terrence for what is now the undisputed flyweight title after it was vacated by the one and only King Shaka, Nkazumulo Zulu, who's now fighting out in Japan in the Ryzen promotion. Now, this fight is absolutely tantalizing. We have Terrence, the Black Panther Balelo. He's coming in on 6-1 record. That one we know was against Gift the Day Walker, who at that point captured the flyweight title. Not a shattering loss. A big learning for him, as he said in that fight, after that fight. Good to have seen him then capture 2 interim belts, but now he's coming for all the gold. As he said in yesterday's press conference, he is coming for all the gold. He's now riding a 2-fight win streak into this title fight, and he is fighting out of Cape Town. He trains with Faiz Jacobs. He trains with Luke Michael from time to time. He trains with some great fighters down in Cape Town. So looking forward to seeing him. Now he's coming up against not an unknown prospect. We've seen a little bit of Edson Machabani. Now the Trapdoor Spider is a fighter that is fighting out of Mozambique with a style that a lot of people don't really reckon with right now in the EFC. And the reason for this is he's actually traditionally a striker coming from a Taekwondo background who learned grappling. But all we've ever really seen from him is his grappling in terms of where he's excelled. So him versus Terrence, who is at his core a striker, is going to be a very interesting matchup. Also adding to that, we have the fact that Terrence, the Black Panther, said, you think my fight game is only my stand-up? No, it's not. I've got grappling, watch and see. I've got ground game, watch and see. We do know they lost on the ground. That one loss that Terrence had was on the ground to Gift the Day Walker. So he definitely has had the time to learn from that. He is riding a 2-fight win streak. One of those was finished by submission when he won the interim flyweight title against Lirdon Romani, an international fighter. So to see him coming up against a challenge like Edson is a very, very good test for him as what will then be a champion, to say he beat someone who was worth beating to become a champion. And same thing with Edson. Edson Machabani's riding has a 5-0 record, pro record, and is riding a 9-fight win streak from his amateur career. Wow. Who better to test yourself against than someone who has an O? As the slightly more experienced fighter, he's now got 7 fights. He's now taking on the slightly less experienced but undefeated fighter in the form of Edson the Trapdoor Spider Machabani. Machabani fights in grappling competitions. He's fought in Ace as well. So, wow, This fight is definitely a title fight worth watching. Whoever wins this will definitely be the number one flyweight on the African continent. And I'm looking forward to that fight. Really looking forward to that fight. The co-main event. Oh, the co-main event. One thing about the EFC women's division is that these women always bring it. Women's division fighters always absolutely bring the fire. They bring the venom. They bring the skill. And this fight is no different. This co-main event between Dana Van Beek, Quiet Storm, and Julia Chuku. Tantalizing. Now, we know Dana Van Beek, Quiet Storm. She's been in the EFC for 4 fights now. She is an undefeated fighter, 4-0, riding a current 6-fight win streak from her amateur career. Now, we know that the women's bantamweight title has not had a home for some time. It has been vacant. So to finally have 2 women who are stepping to the fore, to actually fight for this title, to actually give it a home, is very, very exciting. And we know what A-Team Stars out of Pretoria brings to the table. They've got fighters like Willie the White Lion Balloon. Oh, and that boy kicks. Oh, he's got so many head kick versions. Can't wait for him to actually challenge for a title. They've also now got Dana Van Beek, who is fighting for the bantamweight title, and she's been looking good. She's going up against Julia Chuku from Nigeria. She, similar record to Terrence the Black Panther, 6-1, nice record, riding a 5-fight win streak. If there is no better competition for Juliet than Dana, then I don't know who it would be, because 6-1 female record on this continent, you don't get them very often. So to have her fighting in the EFC, very, very exciting. She's a little bit taller than Dana. She's definitely more experienced than Dana. And I think if we have a look at the two, if you look at the EFC Engaged, and everyone who's listening, do definitely go to the EFC YouTube page, watch the EFC Engaged episode. There you can really see what each fight is going to be bringing to the fight. And if I have a look at Dana Van Beek, if I look at her training and what she's training, she is mixing up her game. She's doing striking, she's doing grappling, she's doing a lot of training around the skills that you need in a fight. Whereas if I look at Julia Chuku in her Engaged, she was basically training for power. That's how this fight's going to go, in my opinion. Chuku's going to come with the harder punches. Van Beek is going to come with clinches, grappling, a little bit of striking, maybe a takedown or 2 attempt, taking you to the ground, submission attempt or 2. Whereas Chuku will be, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to bang, because Chuku has got the power. This woman's arms, I hate to say it, but they're probably more defined than mine. She is an absolute unit of a female. And with that power, the question is, can Van Beek tame the power that is going to be coming from Chuku? Well, let's look at what the odds say later on in the show, but this fight is definitely a fight, once again, definitely a fight that is worth having for a title fight in the women's division in the EFC. Shout out to listen to this. Yes, Edson is definitely bringing the fire. He definitely is the trapdoor spider, as we know, always bringing the fire, always bringing different submissions, and the Black Panther is going to bring the show because that's what he does. The show, the skill. Can't wait for it. Juliet is the best so far in my book, says listen to this. Well, let's see how that fight goes. Let's see what the odds say later on in the show, but I think that you might just be right. Now, fights to watch. Those are just the 2 fights, the main fight and the co-main. 2 great fights, but those are not the only fights on this night. Obviously, we have 13 great fights, 13 amazing fights. Kick him in the heads, fights to watch for EFC 119. Now, at the top of the show, I said that this card is absolutely stacked, and there you go. There is the card, stacked, starting all the way from the prelims. I'm not going to start with, well, let's just start with Nakano versus Siabi, 2 young prospects looking to make their name in the EFC. Let's see how this fight goes. Good prelim fight. Then we've got Kabeya, 4 faces. He is back. We haven't seen him since I think he lost a few EFCs ago. He is back now on the prelim card. Looking forward to that fight. Then for me, where I get really excited is that we have Alistair Kunene back in the Hex. Now, Alistair Kunene, if you do not know him, he is a fighter out of Pandemonium Gym, and he is one of the most skilled fighters I've seen. He's got an absolutely stellar amateur career that he's now riding into a professional career. And if you've seen him fight, you know the skills he's got. Working on his ground game. Look at him in his last fight. He definitely has had a lot of work training with Dwayne Meredith out of Pandemonium Gym to actually get his ground game together, because his striking was absolutely crisp. Looking forward to that fight. Then we've got the son of Egypt, Moses Makari versus Ruavan Dabia. That is a fight that's going to put someone on the map where it comes to the bantamweight division, the EFC. Then we've got Nerek Samois. We've got Tapiwa Katikati. We know Tapiwa Katikati. He knows how to fight and he knows how to take a punch. And we've got the beast, Nerek Samois. Angolan skills. He trains out of Team CIT out in Pretoria with Drickers. Great skills. That's a great fight. We have interviews with Nerek, the Beast Samois, and Ruavan Dabia up on our channel. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to listen to those interviews. They were absolutely spicy interviews. Love them. Listen to this says, do you think Van Beek will submit Juliet? Ooh. Haha. I think the power that's going to be coming from Juliet is going to surpass the grappling and submission skills of Van Beek, of Dana, simply because, although, look, I say that, but I could be wrong. If you look at the fight between Humphrey Mulenga and Smiley Cabeza, we could have said the same thing. The power would win over the grappling and submission skills, but we saw what happened there. The judo throws came in, and next thing you know, first round submission. So, do I think she'll be able to submit Juliet? I don't think so because of the power, but I could be wrong. So let's see how that fight goes. Listen to this. Thank you for that question. So, which fights should we be watching out for here? I say best fights to watch out for. Late notice appearance for Ken Sekeletu, the takeover. He's fighting against Dempsek. He was supposed to be fighting against Steven Guts Gonzalez. That's a good fight. That's a very, very, very good fight there in the featherweight division. Then we've got Zico Makengele, the gorilla, versus Ndidi Olono, who has returned. Oh, that fight is going to be so good. The power, once again, watch the EFC engage. The power coming from Zico Makengele versus the all-round skills possessed by Olono. But then again, we haven't seen Makengele fight since he lost the welterweight title to Mark Hume, who went on to the Ultimate Fighter in the UFC. So we don't know what he brings to the table. We haven't seen him since he started training at Team CIT with Drickus du Plessis. So what will he be bringing to the table in this fight? We don't know, but it's definitely going to be a very, very good fight between these two guys. We saw Horatius Olonu head kicking the hitman Cole Henning in his last fight after coming back from an 8-year layoff, thinking he was going to have, we thought he was going to have ring rust, but no. He brought the fight, he brought the skills, and he put the hitman down. That is going to be a great fight. And of course, we've got Starboy Patrick Ocheme versus Kaleka Block Kabanda. Oh, you know what? I'll talk about that fight when we get to the odds. That is a very, very good fight. That's a very good, very nice fight to watch. Two skilled fighters, two very powerful guys fighting it out at lightweight. Then we've got Blam B versus the Chef. Let's cook it up, Chef. We've got Blam B, Shadrach Nsua versus the Chef, Siovanganom Veve. The Chef, we have seen, he comes with power. He fights out of Dominator's Gym with Vince Bembe. Vince, the bad man, Bam Bam Bembe. Absolutely love him. And that's going to be a good fight. Blamby versus Chef. Says, listen to this. Yes, listen to this. That is a very, very fascinating fight. So, fights to watch. Samois versus Katikati. Sekeletu versus Sek. And basically all the fights on the main card. Every main card of EFC is absolutely stacked. It's got good fights. It's got good fighters. And all those fights on the main card, I would definitely recommend you watch. And on the prelims, Sekeletu versus Sek, Samois versus Katikati, and of course, Kunene versus Adams. Those are the fights that I would point out for everyone to definitely give a watch along too. Yes, listen to this. Kati Kati is back. He has returned after fighting out in UAE Warriors. I think it was 53. He has returned now to South Africa to the EFC to compete again, and we are excited to have him back. That's for sure. Now, fight of the night. The question: which do I think will be the fight of the night? Looking at this card, considering all the fights on this card, there are two fights that I've eyeballed as the fight of the night. The one is the Quiet Storm Dana Van Veek versus Julia Chuku. Why? Because it's a women's fight in the EFC. Women's fights in the EFC always bring it, without a doubt. I've watched Dana Van Veek fight numerous times, multiple times. She always brings the fight. Always brings the fight, no matter who her opponent is. Bigger, smaller, stronger, it doesn't matter. The Quiet Storm is there, not quietly. That definitely is going to be fight of the night because the power that Chuku brings, the skill that Van Veek brings, putting those together stylistically, it's just going to be a slugfest. It's just going to be slug, like punches, kicks, submission attempts, grappling. I think that's just going to be an absolutely crazy fight. So definitely watch out for that being the fight of the night at EFC 119. Listen to this says, my fight of the night is Van Veek versus Juliet for sure, but I'm scared Juliet might get an oversight submission. Okay, well, listen to this. Sounds like she is definitely hard in support of Julia Chuku. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, definitely fight of the night for me is Julia Chuku versus Dana Van Veek. Now, the betting odds. Now, we're looking at the betting odds for EFC 119. We're having a look at exactly what the odd makers think of all these fights. So you've heard what I think. You've heard what I think will be the fight of the night, who will be the best fighter on the night. But what do the odds say? And the odds say interesting things. So the fight that I want to point out in terms of the odds would definitely be Ocheme versus Kabanda, where Kabanda comes with a very outside chance of beating Patrick Ocheme, Starboy. So definitely there, if you're not, well, if you're looking for an underdog that you want to bet on, definitely go with Kabanda. There's a very, 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 very outside chance that he might win. But if he does, that would be some good money. But it's not likely. We've seen they're engaged. We've spoken to Patrick Ocheme as well on the podcast. Definitely do like, comment, subscribe. The interviews are up on our channel as of tomorrow. But if you look at the all-round skill that Ocheme has and generally the power game that Kabanda plays, I don't see that happening. The odds are very right there. But if you're looking for a dog of the week, an underdog to put money on, definitely block Kabanda. Could possibly pull it out with a Hail Mary, let's call it overhand right. Cool. Then the next interesting one would then be the ladies' fight, which is Van Veek versus Chuku, where Dana Van Veek is the favorite by a fair margin. So you could definitely make some money there if you went Julia Chuku, because I think there is an outside chance that Chuku might just manage to pummel Van Veek with the power that she has and the power that she comes with. So if you're looking for another good spread there, you can look at Julia Chuku. The main fight, the main event, down the middle, 9 and 10, down the middle. The odd makers do not know which way this fight's going to go. It is such a close fight, this one. I'm putting all my money on Ocheme. Hope he doesn't disappoint. Says, listen to this. All her money is going on to Starboy Patrick Ocheme against Block Kabanda. So we'll see how that goes. I think your money might just be safe. Listen to this. Okay, so with the Balelo versus Machabani fight, if you want to make real money on these odds, pick a round. And with how these two fight, I would go with I'd say probably a second round TKO to Valero. Yeah, second round TKO to Balelo, that would help you get some actual money on Balelo, but you'd have to pick a round. You'd have to pick a decision or something, although this fight is not likely to go to decision. It's definitely going to go through to a stoppage. I'm pretty sure about that. Listen to this says that they are putting their money on Edson, the trapdoor spider Machavani. Definitely. As the odds go, you could be equally as right. You could make your money. Let's see. We don't know. 9 and 10. That's some really, really, really close odds on that title fight. To the prelims, on the first three fights, there are still no odds from the World Sport Betting website, but they should be up by the end of tomorrow in terms of all the fights on the card. However, the other prelim fights do have odds, and the ones that I definitely want to point out is Kensei Kuletu versus Dembasek. Yes, the odds are a bit tricky there, 23 and 20. So we've got Sek, who is a slight favorite, but we know the takeover. We know Kensei Kuletu. We know he trains with Humphrey Mulenga out in Zambia. He's been doing a lot of training with some high-level fighters. He comes with a lot of power. We know Dembasek comes with a lot of skill. He comes with head kicks. He's got a wide arsenal of different strikes. On the ground, he's got some ground game as well. Sekuletu's ground game, primarily, he's a defensive ground game artist. He will stop the takedown or he will get up if he's on the ground. So let's see how these two come together. They're both very powerful fighters, but I think definitely taking Sekuletu as an underdog, you could definitely come out with a win there because there's a high chance that he could actually get away with a win against Dembasek. The odds are fairly close. So, I would say Kensei Kuletu, second round TKO. Adrian Sanchez. So, Rayo is back in the hex. And those odds, I think, are very fair against Elvis Ngualangwala. 2 and 9. I mean, the odds there speak volumes about the chances of Ngualangwala defeating Sanchez. So definitely, if you are looking to put some money on that fight, take Sanchez with the first round submission, and you would probably be then able to make some money and work those odds. But otherwise, not much there. British Bolayang versus Christian Omokombio. That is going to be a very, very fun fight. Odds makers have it in favor of Bolayang with as being the more experienced fighter. Omokombio comes with a lot of power. So, I think there's a possibility he could actually finish the fight in the third. So if you're looking to go on outside odds, you can take Omokombio in the third. Nerik Samois versus Tapiwa Katikati, 5 and 10. Those odds. Those odds are further spread than they might be. Tapiwa has been on a skid lately. He has, I think, it's like on a 4 or 5 fight losing streak right now, but he still packs the power. If he doesn't rush, he could have the timing. But we know Samois, like I said, trains out of Team CIT. I think he will have the timing to stuff anything that Kadikadi throws at him. So if you want to make money off him, I'd definitely say take him for a third round TKO to Samois. Do you think Katikati is going to finish the fight? Finish the fight or be finished in the fight? One of the two, I suppose, right? But I do not think that fight's going to go the distance. No, I think it definitely will. It will get finished, and I think by Samois probably submission in the third. If I said TKO, I've changed that to submission in the third. And then Rovan the Beer versus Moses Mukari. Oh, that's another tight one. I would go Mukari in the second by TKO. Yeah, Rovan, I love you. But I think the Son of Egypt might just work within what those odds say and might just come out with the win in that fight. But let's see how that fight goes. Then we have the 3 fights without odds. I would take Alistair Kanene when the odds do come out. I have no question. Definitely Alistair Kanene. Kabeya versus Miyaba. I'll take Kabeya. Four Faces, former contender for the title. I'll take him. And I think Vincent Nakana versus Siabi. I'll take Nakana as the more experienced fighter when the odds do come out. So definitely look out for the full odds on World Sport Betting's website as the odds progress over the next 2 days, because today is Tuesday and the fights are on Thursday, the 14th. Today is the 12th. So definitely look out for the bets. And if you are placing money on the EFC, World Sport Betting, that's the place to go. They have the best odds on the EFC. With that said, we do have odds as well from Luke Michael. Luke, who's supposed to be on the show to actually present his odds here. So unfortunately, he didn't make it. So I will be reading his odds. Now, the parlay that Luke Michael, the current EFC middleweight champion, has put out is Machavani, Van Veek, and Makangele. So the champ is favoring Edson Machavani in the title fight. Fair enough. The odds could go either way. So if you manage to get that slight underdog boost, perfect. And I think that's a very good pick because it really could go anyway. And as far as the odds go, if Machavani gets it, you benefit greatly. Van Veek, with those odds, yes, take Dana. She's almost a sure thing to win. Now the swinger is Zico Makangele. Now, we haven't seen Makangele in a year and a half. We've recently seen Alonu against the Hitman. Can Makangele do it? Can Zico return and beat Horatius Alonu? And as smooth as Alonu was fighting in his fight against the Hitman, that's a very, very tough parlay. It's a very, very tough parlay. I'm definitely going to have to chat with Luke about this one. Machavani, Van Dijk, Makangele. But great odds nonetheless. If they all come through the win there, great odds. The odds there are good and you would make some good money. But it's very tight. The Machavani versus Balelo fight, that one is down the middle, down the line. Almost I guess, slightly more certain thing, although I'm going the other way with the Van Beek versus Chuku fight. And in the Makangele versus Alonu fight, once again, I'm going the other way. So Luke and I don't quite see eye to eye in terms of this parlay. So it'll be very interesting to see how it goes. And then his second parlay is Machavani and Makangele. So the champ favoring Machavani, favoring Makangele in his parlays. Let's see how it goes. But for me, I'm going the other way. I'm going with, in my parlay at least, I'm going Balelo, Alonu, and then my outside dog, Ken Sekeletu. So Sekeletu, Balelo, Alonu. Those three would be in my parlay to make sure that you are going to make a lot of money off EFC 119 if you are betting. Ooh, that was a nice little lot of talking from me. Absolutely loved it. So EFC 119 coming Thursday, 14th November at the EFC World Sport Betting Arena here in Johannesburg, South Africa. Absolutely stacked card, fantastic card, great betting odds if you're looking to bet on the fights. A great title fight, two great title fights, one for the flyweight championship of the EFC, the other one for the women's bantamweight title of the EFC. Two great title fights. And as always, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe at Head Kick Pod on all platforms. Looking forward to catching all of you on Thursday watching EFC. Please, if there's anything you see that's interesting, definitely do drop us likes, comments, specifically comments on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you want to find us. We are there. We are listening. And we look forward to chatting to you guys next week. We actually have an episode tomorrow. We are doing a full episode. We are going to be previewing UFC 309. John Jones, the GOAT, or as some would say, quack, quack, the duck, is fighting at UFC 309 against Stipe Miocic, the heavyweight GOAT of the UFC. That is going to be a great event. It's an absolutely interesting card that they're having. So looking forward to that. Please do tune in tomorrow to the show where we will be covering that. We will go once again a little bit into UFC 119. We will be looking at the past weekend, where we had multiple African champions. We had Reg winning the one championship heavyweight title, and Kiara Fegan winning the women's lightweight title at the IMAF championships out in Kazakhstan. But to everyone listening, salute. Kick him in the head. Don't forget, you should have a head kick week. Till next time, salute.